So we're going to explore the REPL on two different systems. First, as I mentioned to you, we are providing web alternatives for every piece of software that we will interact with. So this is the REPL available on the official Python website. It's called the Python shell. So in the backend, this is running Python version 3.10.5, which is a slightly older version of Python than the one that I'm going to show you on my system. And this is running on the operating system Linux. On my system, I am running what is currently the latest version of Python, 3.13.1. By the time you watch this video, there might be newer versions of Python available. And this is running on my Windows operating system. So let's first go to the web-based version, the older version of Python, and let's try and see if we can look at what the information about floating point numbers is on this system. So if we read the documentation, it says we should look at sys.float_info. So I type that, I press enter, the REPL is going to read, evaluate, print, and then again I will get the greater symbols for looping. I press enter and I get an error message. It says name error, sys not defined. The name sys is not defined. As you can see, this error message is not very helpful for me. It doesn't tell me how I should solve the problem. It just tells me that what I typed was not correct. And you notice that the documentation didn't tell you anything else either. So you would have to read up more in the documentation about what is a name error and how to resolve it. Now if you try the same command on the REPL that I have on my local system, let's see what happens here. So here I type sys.float_info, and again I get an error message. It says sys is not defined, but they give us a helpful message in addition. They say, did you forget to import sys? So apparently there is something called sys that needs to be imported into the REPL before I can proceed. So this at least gives me a suggestion of what to do. So let's try and see if we can import sys. So let's try and do that. Import, and it says sys, and it puts it in quotations. So let's try what it's suggesting, import sys. When we press enter, it gives me an error message. It says syntax error, invalid syntax. And here, unfortunately, it doesn't tell me how to fix it. So here I would have to ask somebody who knows more, or I could search online, or I could ask my generative AI to give me a suggestion. So let us say I tried one of those ways, and people told me that the way you do this is with import sys without the quotes. And then there is no message. There is also nothing that gets printed, because this particular statement, unlike the other expressions that we have been trying, this particular statement doesn't produce an answer. So nothing is printed in this REPL part. So I have imported sys. Now let us try sys.float_info. And now I get a complicated message. But this tells me what is supported on this particular system. I will read you just one part of this complicated message. It says that the maximum float that can be supported on this system, which is the maximum approximate real number that can be supported on this system, is 1.79, etc., 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 e plus 308. Now this e is shorthand for times 10 to the power. So what this is telling us in its very technical way is that the largest number that you can represent as a float on this system is, roughly speaking, 1.8 times 10 to the power 308. So that's a very big number. But there are other real numbers that are bigger than this. For example, 1.8 times 10 to the power 309. But that number is not representable on this system. Similarly, there are other pieces of information that are available here. For now, let's just hop over to the other system and see if that has different or the same values of floating point numbers. So once again, we would have to first import sys, and then we would try sys.float_info, and we would get again a complex message. Here again we observe that the maximum representable number is about 1.8 times 10 to the power 308. So it turns out that the floats that are supported on this version of Python running on this server is the same as what is supported on my system. But in general, the documentation is warning us that the version of floats that you encounter on your system might be slightly different, and it's important to keep that in mind.